Hello, I'm Boyce Lancaster, and this is another in our series of Coda at Home conversations. If you are a longtime ProMusica lover and attender of concerts, then you're used to seeing codas down by the stage after the concerts at the Southern Theater. But because of the ongoing, I'm not even going to have to mention what's ongoing because we all know what's ongoing. We are doing this remotely. And speaking with me today is our principal horn, Stephanie Blaha. Welcome to Coda.
Thank you so much, Boyce. It's great to be here with you and be able to connect, even if it's not in person or near the stage.
Exactly. And you, you are surrounded by music in your home. You are, as I mentioned, a principal horn for ProMusica. You have and over the years played in the Grant Park Orchestra, and you have played in Arizona and many different places. Pittsburgh, I think, is it the Pittsburgh Opera?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And your husband is a professor of tuba and euphonium at the University of Akron.
That is also correct. Yep.
A lot of windy people in your house.
Yes. A lot of noisy buzzing going around in our house for sure.
And you have a soon-to-be second grader. What is her take on all of this? Of course, she's grown up around this, so it may not seem weird to her, but does she ever just say, "Mom, can you guys stop for a while?"
I do sometimes get told to put my mute in, that it's too loud. Please, Mom, put your practice mute in. It's too loud. But for the most part, she really is rolling with it. When she was a baby, she hated when I buzzed, did not like the mouthpiece at all. But for the most part, she's rolling with it. And, right behind me here, we've got a electric piano, Yamaha Clavinova, and she's taken piano lessons for a couple of years now. So, she's got a little music bug too. She loves to sing. And so she rolls with it. She's used to being around it all the time.
It's just one of those things that's just part of life.
That's right.
Well, it's interesting that because she's taking an instrument other than what the two of you play, although I don't know many second graders that are ready to play euphonium yet, or a horn for that matter.
No, a little too soon.
It seems like I recall when I spoke with David Finkel and Wu Han at one point that their daughter was taking lessons and she was studying the violin. It's like, we're not going to teach her. Somebody else gets that joy.
That's very true. I took piano lessons for 6 years, maybe even 7, and I did horn and piano for 1 year together. And then I decided I wanted to focus on horn in 6th grade. But the piano was so helpful to me to learn the horn. And so, that was just kind of something that we wanted to get her started in. And I started her a little bit, but she would much rather learn from someone else than learn from Mom.
You were talking about that as far as teaching too, because as we were discussing beforehand, not only are you a musician, you are now also an elementary school teacher, and kids don't want to hear from Mom and Dad.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a lot of extra patience and extra encouragement. You become teacher/cheerleader. I'm very pleased. She had a wonderful 1st grade teacher, and I was actually in the classroom sometimes helping out. And so we have a very good relationship with her 1st grade teacher. And so her teacher really did everything she could to, foster the ease of at-home learning. But it's certainly a challenge, and we'll see what this fall brings in a few weeks as she begins her next school year. So
I've seen a few things that you have posted online. You were playing the Saint-Saëns and a couple of other things. Are these pieces that you have recorded for posting during the pandemic sequestration, shall we call it, or are these things you already had that you just kind of decided to get out there?
No, these were things, ProMusica had wanted, to keep kind of a presence online with the community, and we as musicians want to continue connecting with our audience. And so that was something, it's a piece that I've always liked, the Saint-Saëns Romance, and was something I wanted to share as a way to connect with ProMusica subscribers and audience and anyone who was interested. So, that's something, once, the last thing that I performed was at the beginning of March, and it's been a long haul and continues to be. So just kind of finding ways to, take out some pieces that I hadn't looked at in a while, learn something new. I had never, a piece that I always really loved in college and had the opportunity of hearing one of my professors perform was the Britten Serenade for tenor, horn, and strings. And that's just something I've never really worked on. And so I got that out and worked on it for about a month. And so just finding these ways to motivate myself other than just, well, I don't really want to get out of shape because getting back in shape is tough.
Yes.
I did take a couple weeks off the horn just for sort of a mental and physical timeout. And, of course, usually I spend my summers in Chicago performing with the Grant Park Orchestra. So this is the first time I've been home all summer in 10 years. So it's a big shift for me and for our family and for our sort of daily pace of life, for sure.
Well, that was going to be one of the questions, because most musicians anymore aren't locked in to one place. Just because you're a member of the Tutti musicians, or you're a principal, or something like that, there's a lot of travel, particularly during the summer season. And do you kind of find yourself at loose ends?
Yeah, it's a very different shift. I mean, in some ways, it's been nice to slow down the pace a little bit, and we've been working on some projects around our house, and my daughter can just go out and play, which is not something we generally do in Chicago. We accompany her down the street to the playground.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, it's tough. I mean, I miss my colleagues, I miss my friends. The Grant Park is something I certainly look forward to, as a way to spend the summer. And even the last couple summers, David Donsmeyer has come and conducted a program at Grant Park. And we've had a chance to, get together for a meal with my family, my husband and my daughter. And so it's tough. I mean, they've been doing some broadcasting of their own of previous concerts, and I've listened to a couple of them, but it's wonderful to listen. And it's also heartbreaking to listen because, I love being there. I love what I do. And it's the same token of ProMusica broadcasts. I've listened to a couple, but it's great, but it's sad. I miss playing with my colleagues. So it's been, a lot of motivating myself as much as I can to keep creating music, even on the days where I just, it's one of those down days where you're like, oh, when is all of this going to end? Just to keeping on and focus on my family and, take this time for what it is, day by day.
Are there pieces of music that for you offer a little bit of solace? Are there things you dive into that you use as kind of, I don't want to use the term self-motive, maybe introspection and an opportunity to just kind of have a Zen moment?
Absolutely. One of the things that I tell my students this all the time is, and depending on ability, my middle school students aren't ready for it. But playing Bach cello suites on horn, I find to be very therapeutic.
Really?
A lot of brass players do that, particularly for horn, whether you play them, as printed, you see on the horn, it's a different pitch level than you would do on the cello, but you can also play them at concert pitch, which makes it even lower. So it's a great way to work on, low register sound and concept. But I just find those, they're very playable. It's beautiful music. It's sort of even just to listen to them is sort of a relaxation thing. And, if there are days where I'm like, man, I don't feel like practicing today, or things are kind of getting me down, that's something I turn to, that is just a way to get the time in and to just kind of relax a little bit and enjoy that kind of music and take the pressure off a little bit.
It's so amazing to me, because everybody I speak with, no matter what instrument they play, Bach seems to be the go-to guy in a situation like this. How is that? Why is that?
There's just something sort of, I don't even know if I have an answer for that. It's amazing, really, it is. For me as a Christian, there's a religious perspective to it, I think, as Bach was very much a, church organist and wrote a lot of his music for the church. But aside from the religious aspect of it, I think it's just the beautiful simplicity of his music. It just has kind of this calming effect. And I would say some Mozart is the same way, especially on the horn. Mozart wrote a lot of great music for us. And the other night, I was kind of like, man, what am I going to practice? And I took out the horn part from the Mozart quintet for horn and strings and played through that. And, it writes so well for the horn. And it's just that sort of beautiful simplicity of the music that for me is sort of good for my soul and good for my head.
Therapeutic.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, maybe the next project for you then should be beginning to record some of these cello suites on your horn and sharing them with the rest of us, or a movement here and there, just for fun.
Yeah, it's funny. I've never performed them in any sense. I've certainly seen people perform a movement here or there. I've had to play them for an audition, for a low horn audition. That's been asked a handful of times when I've taken an audition. It's hard to make them sound quite as good on horn as it is on cello. Obviously they were written for string instruments, and it presents its own set of challenges with breathing and how we do double stops. We can play one note more than one note at a time, but it doesn't sound very good. So we usually tend to sort of arpeggiate it, play bottom to top. So there's lots of choices there, but it certainly would be a challenge that I would enjoy doing. It's just again we're stealing someone else's repertoire.
Sure.
So that's always has its own set of rules as well. But yeah, maybe that would be something that I could kind of share just as an at-home kind of project that I like to turn to when I need a little relief.
We've touched on a few things that seem to be kind of bright spots for you, even when you can't travel and you can't see your friends. Is there any one thing that seems like kind of a silver lining to all of this for you at this point?
This really has been a chance to slow down a little bit. My husband and I and my daughter have talked about that. Our pace in the summer is usually fast and furious. He's a professor, so he is mostly off in the summer, although he does teach an online class or two through the university. But we kind of switch roles in the summer, and I'm working full time for 10 weeks. Even the summer our daughter was born, I took the first 2 weeks off of Grant Park and went back to work with a 10-week-old. And so our pace is just fast and furious, and it has really forced us to slow down and take care of each other and really focus, have a time to really focus on our family and maybe take care of some nurturing there that sometimes gets lost during the year when we're both, I'm working with different groups and going all over the place, and our daughter is busy with her activities with school and dance and piano and swim class, and my husband's teaching and he gigs as well. He's played with ProMusica, he's played with Pittsburgh Symphony, Toledo, Buffalo. He performs as well, and so that pace of being here, there, and everywhere is a lot. So this really has given us a chance to slow down a little bit and kind of reflect and take care of ourselves and our family.
Well, Stephanie Blaha, principal horn of ProMusica Chamber Orchestra, among other hats you wear, thank you for joining us for Coda, and we look forward to seeing you on stage once again, hopefully very soon.
Absolutely. I am most certainly looking forward to returning to ProMusica and my wonderful colleagues and friends there as well.